Empire Tales. Grigori Rasputin, the Mad Monk. Imagine a man who rose from the mud of a frozen Siberian village to the golden halls of the Tsar's palace. A man with wild, unkempt hair, piercing blue eyes that seemed to look directly into your soul, and a reputation for mysterious healing powers that defied modern science. He was a holy man to some, a devil to others, and a puppet master to the last imperial family of Russia. This is the story of Grigori Rasputin, the Mad Monk, whose life and death were shrouded in scandal, mysticism, and a level of resilience that seemed supernatural. Part 1. The Peasant from the East. The story begins in 1869 in the remote, desolate village of Pokrovskoye, deep in the heart of Siberia. Grigori Yefimovich Rasputin was born into a simple peasant family. In a world of extreme cold and backbreaking labor, young Grigori was different. Even as a child, his fellow villagers whispered that he possessed a gift, a strange intuition or psychic ability. But Rasputin was no saint in his youth. He was known for his heavy drinking, brawling, and a reputation as a thief. However, everything changed when he was 28. Following a religious vision, he left his wife and children behind to embark on a pilgrimage across Russia and even to Mount Athos in Greece. He became a Stranic, a wandering holy man. He didn't belong to any official church. He was a self-styled mystic who preached that one must sin deeply to repent deeply. This controversial philosophy, combined with his magnetic personality, began to draw a following of high society women who were bored with traditional religion and looking for something darker and more powerful. Part 2. The Miracle Worker and the Tsar. By 1903, Rasputin had arrived in St. Petersburg, the glittering capital of the Russian Empire. At this time, the Tsar Nicholas II and Empress Alexandra were in a state of quiet desperation. Their only son and heir to the throne, Alexei, suffered from hemophilia, a genetic disorder that prevented his blood from clotting. In an era before modern medicine, a simple bruise could mean a slow, agonizing death for the young prince. The imperial couple was willing to try anything to save their son. In 1905, Rasputin was introduced to the empress. In a moment that changed the course of history, Rasputin stood by the boy's bedside, prayed, and seemingly stopped a life-threatening hemorrhage. Whether it was through hypnosis, calming the boy's stress, or sheer coincidence, the results were undeniable. Alexei got better. To the empress, Rasputin was not just a man. He was a messenger sent from God to save the Romanov dynasty. Part 3. The Shadow Behind the Throne. From that moment on, Rasputin became an indispensable part of the imperial inner circle. But as his influence over the Tsar and Empress grew, so did his scandalous reputation in the city. Rasputin lived a double life. During the day, he was the humble man of God advising the Empress. At night, he was a frequent guest at the city's most notorious taverns and brothels, indulging in drunken debauchery that shocked the public. His proximity to power created a firestorm of rumors. The Russian people, already suffering from poverty and the stresses of war, began to believe that the Mad Monk was the real ruler of Russia. Political enemies accused him of being a German spy and whispered that he was having an affair with the Empress. While most historians believe the affair was a myth, the damage was done. Rasputin became the face of a corrupt and dying monarchy. He was the poison that was slowly killing the Romanovs' reputation in the eyes of their subjects. Part 4. The Prophecy and the Great War. In 1914, Russia entered World War I. The conflict was a disaster for the empire. Millions of Russian soldiers were slaughtered on the front lines, and famine gripped the cities. When Tsar Nicholas decided to personally lead his troops at the front, he left Empress Alexandra in charge of domestic affairs. This was Rasputin's peak of power. The Empress, who trusted no one but her friend, allowed Rasputin to influence the appointment of government ministers and church officials. Competent leaders were fired and replaced by Rasputin's sycophants. the government fell into chaos. Rasputin even sent a chilling prophecy to the Tsar, warning him that if he was murdered by members of the royal family, the Romanov dynasty would be wiped out, and Russia would be drenched in blood for 25 years. It was a prophecy that would come true with terrifying precision. Part 5. The Night That Wouldn't End. By late 1916, a group of noblemen led by Prince Felix Yusupov decided that Rasputin had to be removed to save Russia. On the night of December 30th, they lured Rasputin to Yusupov's palace with the promise of meeting the prince's beautiful wife. What followed is one of the most famous and bizarre assassination stories in history. First, the conspirators fed Rasputin cakes and wine laced with enough cyanide to kill several men. Rasputin ate and drank greedily, but to the horror of the assassins, he showed no signs of illness. Desperate, Prince Yusupov pulled out a revolver and shot Rasputin in the chest. Rasputin collapsed, and the conspirators celebrated their victory. But as Yusupov leaned over the body, Rasputin's eyes suddenly snapped open. He grabbed the prince by the throat and struggled to his feet, crawling out into the snowy courtyard. The assassins chased him, shooting him twice more, once in the back and once in the forehead. They then beat him savagely, tied his body in a rug, and threw him into the freezing Malaya Nevka River. When his body was recovered days later, some reports suggested that there was water in his lungs, meaning that despite being poisoned and shot multiple times, the mad monk was still alive when he hit the water and died only from drowning. Part 6. The Fall of the Romanovs. Rasputin's death did not save the monarchy, it accelerated its collapse. Just weeks after his murder, the Russian Revolution broke out. The Tsar was forced to abdicate, and the entire Romanov family, including the young Prince Alexei, was eventually executed by the Bolsheviks. Rasputin's dark prophecy had come to pass. The man who had come from the Siberian mud had correctly predicted the end of a 300-year-old dynasty. He was a man who lived at the intersection of faith and sin, a figure who embodied the chaos and mysticism of a Russia on the brink of total transformation. Legacy: man, myth, or monster? Grigori Rasputin remains one of the most enigmatic figures in human history. Was he a true mystic with healing powers? A clever con man who exploited a mother's love for her dying child? Or a symbol of the spiritual decay of an empire? He has been immortalized in books, movies, and even pop songs as the greatest love machine, or the mystic healer. But beyond the pop culture lens, Rasputin was a man who proved that personality and perceived divinity could be more powerful than armies and crowns. He remains a chilling reminder of how a single, charismatic outsider can infiltrate the highest halls of power and change the course of the world forever. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. If you enjoyed this cinematic exploration of the Mad Monk, do not forget to like, subscribe, and join Empire Tales for more legendary stories. The past is never truly dead. It is just waiting to be told. Legacy: man, myth, or monster? Grigori Rasputin remains one of the most enigmatic figures in human history. Was he a true mystic with healing powers? A clever con man who exploited a mother's love for her dying child? Or a symbol of the spiritual decay of an empire? He has been immortalized in books, movies, and even pop songs as the greatest love machine, or the mystic healer. But beyond the pop culture lens, Rasputin was a man who proved that personality and perceived divinity could be more powerful than armies and crowns. He remains a chilling reminder of how a single, charismatic outsider can infiltrate the highest halls of power and change the course of the world forever. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. If you enjoyed this cinematic exploration of the Mad Monk, do not forget to like, subscribe, and join Empire Tales for more legendary stories. The past is never truly dead. It is just waiting to be told.